please be quiet. On behalf of the 2023-2024 IPLE class, we would like to take a moment and thank all of you for coming to today's debates. Before we continue on with the debates, we would like to remind all students to be respectful to the candidates and refrain from talking and using your phones and/or any other distractions during the debates. The structure of today's debates will proceed in the following format. We will hear 2 debates today. The first will focus on retracting Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The speakers will be Morgan Glover from the Snow Party and Kimmy Jandora from the Safari Party. The second debate will focus on installing a 4th-year history course in PTHSD high schools. The speakers in this debate will be Tai from the Snow Party and Sophia Papadopoulos from the Safari Party. Each speaker will have a total of 7 minutes to speak and answer questions. After each speaker presents their speech, the opposing speaker will have the opportunity to ask 1 question. After both speakers present their arguments, the audience will be allowed to ask 2 questions. After both debates have been completed, we will open up the floor to questions from the audience.
Guys, just a reminder, no food, no talking. Please be respectful. Ms. Glover, you have 7 minutes.
Today, I would like to start us off with a question. Who here uses TikTok? Just raise your hand. Yeah, I know I do, right? Most high schoolers, middle schoolers, and even some elementary schoolers are all on TikTok. In fact, America is actually the leading country in TikTok users with about 150 million users nationally. It's a great app. It has something for everyone. You can get cooking recipes, get ready with me videos, sport reports, racist ideologies, extremist indoctrination material, terrorist propaganda. Wait a second. That's right. When I mean something for everyone, I really mean it. From July 1st to the 16th of 2021, the Institute for Strategic Dialogue did a study on the types of videos that they saw on TikTok. Out of just 1,030 videos, they found 312 separate videos promoting white supremacy. They also located 246 videos that had support for, quote, an extremist or terrorist individual or organization. Included, but not limited to, Adolf Hitler, ISIS, and Brenton Tarrant. And if you don't know who Brenton Tarrant is, he's credited with committing the worst massacre in New Zealand history when he stormed into 2 different mosques and gunned down 90 people, killing 50 of them. Support for a mass shooter who targeted Muslims on a platform that we all just saw is used by so much of our youth today. That was just out of a little over 1,000 videos that were investigated. Now imagine the estimated 34 million videos being posted every day to the site. Who is to blame? Yes, the people sharing these videos, but also the owners of these online platforms who allow for these videos to be viewed countless of times before they are removed. It is time that someone holds them accountable. Hello, my name is Morgan Glover, and alongside my campaign manager, Sanika, I'm running to be your senator in this year's IPLE elections from the Snow Party. I hope that by the end of my speech, I can help you all understand today why Section 230 must be retracted. But first, what is Section 230? Section 230 refers to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Section 230 consists of 26 words that I will read to you now. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. In simple terms, this law states that owners of online platforms, such as social media companies, are not responsible for what is posted onto their websites. I'll give an example. Let's say that an individual posts illegal content, such as a terrorist threat, onto Facebook. Even if Facebook were to fail to moderate this post, even if it was seen millions of times before it was taken down, and even if this threat led to a deadly attack killing God knows how many people, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, would not be held accountable. If he was insufficient in his ability to halt spreading the message of a terrorist group on his own platform, then it should be him who faces the consequences. It is time that we stop protecting the billionaire owners of these sites and instead start protecting you, the users. Which brings me to why we must repeal Section 230. Legally, due to Section 230, social media companies don't have any legal responsibility to moderate their content in any specific way. In fact, this is how companies are allowed to pick and choose what type of content is allowed on their platforms. The best example of this is Instagram versus X, or Twitter as it used to be called. On Instagram, nudity and sexual content are forbidden and strictly monitored, meaning that you can post it on their site. Whereas on X, as of January 2024, on their own website, they state, you may post content that falls under our definitions of graphic content, adult nudity, and sexual behavior. On X, where the minimum age to make an account is just 13 years old, users are allowed to post pornography as long as it falls under their definitions. Yeah, for these under 18 accounts, they do attempt to screen pictures and videos, but that same moderation is not done effectively for links or private DMs. It is clear that allowing these sites to have full control over how they moderate their websites is not safe. Due to the fact that we allow this failure of a system, as long as it's voluntary, this adult content is perfectly fine to be posted onto the site. But what happens when it's not voluntary? Another popular social networking site you may have heard of is Reddit. Reddit is a forum-based site that consists of many pictures, links, and videos. Similarly to X, it also has very relaxed pornography regulation laws. In August of 2014, a Reddit community was created which was dedicated to sharing leaked nude photos of celebrities. Private photos, which were never meant to be seen, were stolen from their iCloud accounts and subsequently gained over 250 million viewers on Reddit. Reddit didn't delete the community when they saw that their website had crashed because of so many viewers. It took their moderators an entire week to shut down this community and then lawfully obtained images of celebrities on it. Why? Why would they take so long knowing that so many people's privacy had been violated? It's the same reason why X and many others allow this graphic content, because there's money to be made off of it. The more users that come to these sites for this graphic content, the more money they can make off of advertisements. Why would they stop? Reddit generated an estimated $810 million in 2023 from their advertisements, and X did an even greater $2.5 billion in advertising revenue for the same year. Section 230 allows for this to happen. It gives immunity to the owners of these online platforms and also absolves them from taking any responsibility. Why is our government more concerned about social media companies from being sued rather than the safety of our citizens? Section 230 was originally passed in 1996, almost 30 years ago. In 1996, there was no clue as to what the internet was going to turn into. We cannot allow these online platforms to set their own rules anymore, especially when their rules only prioritize what will make them the most money. I'm not proposing that the government to have total control over how these platforms regulate their content, but instead, we need to set strict boundaries on what they currently don't moderate properly. Section 230 needs to be retracted. Only after it is done can our Congress do their jobs and formulate new, relevant legislation to effectively handle online platforms. As of today, there are an estimated 246 million active social media users in the US, and it is time to look out for them. It is time to put the power back where it belongs, in the hands of the people. It is time to keep these animals in the safari, not trampling on your government, and it's time to vote for Snow. Thank you.
Ms. Jandora, you may ask your question. Decorum.
Just turn the bottom of it on. Just hit the bottom button, it'll come right on. Just hold it in, it should come on. Nothing?
In a study conducted by the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism, they noted that 76.9% of extremists and purists who use social media as part of their radicalization processes during this period use these platforms as a way to supplement existing face-to-face extremist relationships and participation in closed offline extremist networks. So why is it your belief that this will stop if we were to repeal Section 230?
Thank you for your question. So basically, you said that If they already have these existing relationships, retracting Section 230 won't do anything to hinder them. We're not also only focused on hindering new relationships, but also we don't want to build these existing relationships within terrorist groups, because that's how terrorist groups get stronger, and that's how they are able to plan more deadly attacks, and we don't want any of that. Thank you.
Ms. Jandora, you'll have 7 minutes.
No one could have predicted the dramatic changes in the 27 years following Section 230's enactment, and it was no one's job to do so either. However, in this wild digital world, our mission is clear: saving American freedoms and reinforcing independence. Internet is the now, and it is the future. My name is Kimberly Jandora, and alongside my campaign manager, Mason Jopes, I'm running for Senate on behalf of the Safari Party. Section 230, enacted in 1996 as part of the Communications Decency Act, is our digital superhero. According to the Department of Justice's review of Section 230, it provides immunity to online platforms from civil liability based on third-party content and for the removal of content in certain circumstances. Generally, it's the shield for online platforms to prevent them from getting canceled and sued over user-generated content. It's the principle that users should be responsible for their actions and statements online and not responsible for those of others. Section 230 protects companies' abilities to set their community standards. For instance, companies ban nudity and racist speech and moderate the content on their platform accordingly. In a time when the internet shapes our daily lives, the preservation of Section 230 is not just a legal matter, but a testament to our commitment to creating a safe and inclusive digital environment, about carving a space to empower individuals to continue to thrive in this realm we have created. The First Amendment of the US Constitution, free speech. The idea that every human has the right to speak and express with no limitation, something challenged by the Alien and Sedition Act of 1798. Yes, 1798. Passed by Federalists, giving the government power to imprison and prosecute critics of the government. It restricted speech supposedly dangerous to the peace and safety of the United States, yet it was repealed by the Naturalization Law. Another instance, 1969, the Brandenburg v. Ohio case. This time, the Supreme Court struck down the conviction of a KKK member and established a new standard. Speech can only be suppressed if it is intended and likely to produce, quote, imminent lawless action. Otherwise, even speech that advocates violence is protected. The Brandenburg standard prevails today. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, argues that, quote, we should not give the government power to decide which opinions are hateful, for history has taught us that the government is more apt to use this power to prosecute minorities than to protect them. And that is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. We have social media as an outlet for free speech. We can voice our opinions to share new perspectives. We have the right to criticize and to question, but also to have an opinion and to learn from our opinions, because that is reality. We must fail to advance, and we must see bad to see the good. Think about it this way. It's third down, you're left tackle on the football field, and you miss a block, so your QB gets sacked. It's now the other team's ball. Your team is mad, but the other team is cheering. But why is there cheering if your QB just got sacked? It's because there is bad that allows us to see the good. Yes, you help the other team, but only because there was failure that allowed the other team to advance. This leads us to self-worth. Section 230 encourages freedom of expression, the foundation of self-fulfillment. It allows each individual to realize their full human potential. It is vital to the advancement of knowledge. John Stuart Mill, 19th century writer and civil libertarian, says, quote, enlightened judgment is possible only if one considers all facts and ideas from whatever source and tests one's own conclusions against opposing views. The bad opinions need to be considered to make the most effective decisions. We should crave new perspectives and seek them out, not hinder their development. Let the people stay informed. The people are a part of checks and balances too. So don't we want to be well-informed and have access to all information, ideas, and points of view? History proves that mass ignorance is a breeding ground for oppression and tyranny. So why would we limit people's abilities to use media to their advantage? Social media has dramatically changed and reshaped our world, and Section 230 is the foundation of social media. Think about how quickly social media trends populated the people during COVID, and even now. Like Jinxie and Sketch are literally being referenced by the NFL. They hit us with, "What's up, brother?" Anyway, What my opponent will try to convince you is that Section 230 does not protect our country from the harm of the media, such as terrorism and pornography. These are real issues, and I will never say otherwise. However, are the companies Section 230 protects truly the issue, or is it the people? Are companies avoiding responsibility, or are the people? Are companies using a free pass, or are the people? These companies are not the ones posting on their platforms and causing chaos. In fact, many platforms have invested resources in developing AI algorithms and human modification teams to remove harmful content. But why should the companies be responsible for the choices the user chooses to make? Maybe instead of attacking the company, combat the source. Use our time and money to focus on mental health support and to promote positive online behaviors, to address the root causes of online harms like inequality and discrimination. Retracting Section 230 will lead to over-censoring content to avoid legal liabilities. Streaming of UFC fights could be banned because they are violent. UFC promotes fighting, and fighting is dangerous, right? Legitimate speech could also be removed, which stifles free expression and hinders the exchange of ideas online. Operation True Promise, an attack on April 13th of 2024, an Iranian attack on Israel. Are we going to stop the news because an airstrike could promote violence? Retracting Section 230 is simply an unrealistic and ineffective approach. What is the line for what is effective or acceptable content? Do we really expect companies to police content perfectly without any legal protections from Section 230? Again, I'm not naive enough to preach that the issues my opponent brings to light are to be overlooked, but Section 230 is not the cause of them. The users of the media are. We say, we the people, but then get angry when we face the consequences of our very own actions. It's time for users to take responsibility for what they choose to post. It's not the fault of the companies for allowing free speech. We say, we the people, so let the companies trust us people. Let us be the people. Let us be the voice of the past, present, and future. Let us live with the harm, but let us be the change. Retracting Section 230 will silence. We the people are not silenced. We do the silencing. Section 230 fosters free expression and free speech. It promotes innovation and creativity. It facilitates the flow of information and communication. So let's remember our power and remember our rights. Vote for me, Kimberly Jandora, for Senate against retracting Section 230.
Ms. Glover, you may ask your question.
So Section 230 was passed in 1996 to help the internet grow, but as you said in your own words, the internet has grown so much since then. So don't you think it's time that we create new relevant legislation instead of relying on old, outdated policies?
If we're really going to be applying that logic here, then how can we say that the US Constitution is good legislation? Because it keeps the people in check. You know, it leaves the power to the people, and sometimes, and that's something our government is completely based on. It's the power of the people, so why wouldn't we leave it to the people? We shouldn't hinder our country's development, whether it's 1996 or it's 2024. Thank you for your question.
All right, so we're going to take 2 questions from the crowd. Just a reminder, please be respectful and state who your question is for before you ask it.
Hello? So I have a question for the Safari Party. How does this affect LeBron James's legacy?
The chair finds that question dilatory. We're going to move to the next question. Thank you. Decorum.
I have a question for the Snow Party. How would you approach the issue of those people underage signing up for social media while they're not met at the requirements to sign up? Would you have stricter guidelines for them to sign up?
Thank you for your question. Yes, there's many platforms like TikTok and Instagram that already have underage kind of different experiences for depending on your age. So for example, I know on TikTok, there's an under 10 experience that I think they're experimenting with in China, which basically allows, it really regulates the kind of content that a 10-year-old would see. So it doesn't allow for private DMs or any inappropriate content because it would adjust to their age. Thank you.
I have a question for the snow party, right? The one with balloons. Okay, why are we blaming the people who created the platform, like Elon Musk and Twitter, for posting porn or plus contact? You know? Because.
Decorum.
Okay, shut up, fucking up. What?
Please stop talking.
Am I not answering?
We're going to invite the next speakers up to the stand, please.
Well, this is going well. As a reminder to everyone, please be respectful and be quiet while the speakers are giving their speeches. Ms. Tai, you have 7 minutes.
Would you pass the U.S. citizenship test? Let's see. Do you know how many amendments the Constitution has? Could you define the rule of law? Could you confidently name the current Speaker of the House? Well, I'm sure some of you passed this mock citizenship test. I'd bet that most of you are just relieved that you're already a citizen. But is it really for the best that those who are U.S. citizens know less about our country than those who aren't yet? Thank you all for being here today. My name is IPLE, and I am a member of the Snow Party. I, along with my campaign manager, Sophia Potesta, am running to be on the Parsippany Troy Hills Board of Education in hopes of introducing a fourth-year social studies course, which focuses on civics and U.S. current events. Please take a quick look at the peers around you. The people you see now are not just the students of Par Hills. They're the next generation of history makers who will shape this country's future. Because the greatest thing about the United States is that it's a country built off of its people. Our country's founding document, the Constitution, does not start with the words, "we the government." It starts with "we the people." You, as an American, hold all the power to transform this nation into a more perfect union. In fact, it's your right. But how are we, as a generation, supposed to change and better a country we know nothing about? Right now, America is facing a crisis of misinformation and ignorance due to a lack of education on current events and civics. Many U.S. citizens today have no idea what is going on in this country nor the world around it. In fact, most can't even name their own basic rights. In their annual civics survey, the Annenberg Public Policy Center of the University of Pennsylvania found that the majority of U.S. adults did not know their First Amendment rights. Only 3/4 knew it includes the freedom of speech, and less than half recalled the freedom of religion. And those two were the most well-known. But since I'm looking to implement a change in this school district, let's take a look at some data collected from this school. A few weeks ago, my campaign manager and I distributed 60 questionnaires to various junior and sophomore social studies classes to test students' general knowledge on current events and civics. Let's go through a few of these anonymous responses. Only 1 out of 25 respondents was able to name 2 Supreme Court justices. These are the people who get to make the most important legal rulings in our entire nation, ones that will have consequences for every single American, and 96% of us don't know 2 of their names. Even worse, some of these responses indicated that a few of us don't know what the Supreme Court is. 3 different people named branches of government when asked to name justices. People did a little bit better on current events. 23% were able to name Zelensky as the Ukrainian president, but that's still hardly a statistic to be proud of. I could go on, but to keep it succinct, none of the 5 different questions asked across 60 questionnaires had a success rate above that 23%. Most were substantially lower. All this goes to show how little we truly know about our government, our country, and our place in this world. But it's due time for a change. And that's why I'm running with the Snow Party to introduce a new full-year U.S. history course focusing on current events and civics. This course would round out our current social studies curriculum, making it a 4-year track similar to phys ed and English. The class would pick up right around the Vietnam War, where US 2 typically dies down. If you've taken US or APUSH 2 before, I know you might be thinking, doesn't that class already cover modern history? The answer is technically yes, it's supposed to, but everything after the 1970s is really breezed through right at the end of the year. In fact, I don't even remember learning anything beyond the 80s. Even on the AP US History exam, the unit which covers post-1980s America holds the lowest exam weight, so teachers spend significantly less time teaching current events compared to foundational history. And that's really a shame, because as important as it is to know the roots of this country, I think it's equally, if not more important, to be familiar with its current state, to know what's directly led us to today and the things that have been happening in our lifetime. That's exactly what this new course I'm proposing would be about. Things like how Reaganomics still affects US economic policy, the creation and popularization of the internet, what happened on September 11, the Great Recession, the war in Iraq, every presidency since W. Bush, the longest government shutdown in US history. There's so much that gets left behind by our current curriculum, and that applies to civics education as well. If you turned 18 today, how many of you would know how to register to vote? How absentee and mail-in voting works? How many of you know now what to do if a police officer asks to search your vehicle or tries to confiscate your belongings? How do your privacy and constitutional rights hold up in school? Sure, your history teachers do their best to define the Bill of Rights or give you the timeline of the civil rights movement. But without the course I'm proposing, you're never taught the practical application of these rights. Another reason I believe that mandating civics and current events is necessary is to decrease high political tensions across this country. Contrary to what you may fear, the mere presence of politics isn't what causes divide and outrage. However, many adults don't know how to have civil political discussions because we shy away from it in schools instead of creating spaces that allow students to engage in respectful conversations about government. Instead of continuing to run from these conversations, we should be taught how to have them thoughtfully. The unfortunate truth is that our school system currently fails to prepare you for your civic duties and the challenges that you will face as an American citizen or resident. At the end of the day, the point of high school is not just to send you to college or the military or the workforce. It's supposed to prepare you to live in this country, yet we're sending kids off to these higher places without a firm understanding of what this nation is and their place within it. That's why our generation and those that follow will be the most disaffected yet helpless generations if we don't make a change soon. Vote to start that avalanche of change in this school district by demanding the education you are owed. Vote to know your country. Vote to know your rights. Vote to know your power. Vote aye tie for the Board of Ed and vote Snow. Thank you. Isn't it working?
Ms. Papadopoulos, you may ask your question.
How do you justify mandating a civics and current events class considering the potential burden it may place on seniors who are already focusing on college preparation?
So thank you for your question, Ms. Papadopoulos. First of all, I do believe that civics should be taught just as a life preparation skill. However, I do think in particular it is valuable for seniors since they're the ones who are going to be turning 18 and voting. And specifically as far as seniors going away for college, I think it's really important because a lot of seniors, I know in our class especially, are going to schools out of this state. And so you would need to know, when the election comes around, how to deal with absentee or mail-in voting. And that's not something currently taught.
Ms. Papadopoulos, you have 7 minutes.
Good afternoon, students and faculty of Parsippany Hills High School. My name is Sophia Papadopoulos, and I'm running for the Board of Ed position alongside the Safari Party. As a senior in my second semester, I know what it's like to feel restricted in the classes I want to take. When figuring out my schedule, I knew the path I was leading down was focused towards science and math classes to better prepare myself for college. This being said, I want to bring light to talk about something that really matters, our right to choose. We are all at a point in our lives where we're starting to make decisions that shape our futures. That's why I think it's right for all of us as students to have the freedom to pick classes that align with our passions and career aspirations. Now, civics and current events are important, no doubt about it. But when schools mandate a one-size-fits-all class for an entire year, are they really serving our best interests? Think about it. Each of us have a different dream, a different goal. Some of us are future scientists, artists, or maybe even entrepreneurs. Shouldn't our education pave the way for these dreams? When a civics class becomes a checkbox to tick off, the real essence of learning about our society and government gets lost. And what about staying updated with current events? That's crucial, but the beauty of it is that it happens naturally. We're already engaging with the world around us through social media, discussions with friends, and community involvement. The real learning happens when we are actively interested, not when we are just sitting through a class because we have to. Plus, let's not forget about the practical skills we need after graduation. Financial literacy, digital know-how, and creative problem solving are the tools we need in our lives. A mandated civics class takes away precious time that could be spent on courses that equip us with these skills. While my opponent suggests that mandating an additional class during our senior year would enhance our understanding of essential American concepts such as our rights, voting, and the judicial system, the reality is quite the opposite. While these topics are very important, adding another mandatory class would only burden students with further academic obligations, potentially detracting from their ability to focus on core subjects or pursue extracurricular activities that align with their interests and career goals. As many students already have access to resources such as extracurricular clubs that cover these topics, making an additional mandated class redundant. Instead of imposing more requirements, we should focus on improving the accessibility and effectiveness of existing resources to ensure that all students have the opportunity to learn about these vital aspects of our American society. Many educational systems already have subjects like history and government integrated into their curriculum. These subjects typically cover a wide range of topics relevant to civic education and awareness. Therefore, rather than introducing entirely new courses or mandates, educators should leverage the existing framework to teach these subjects effectively. Adding new layers of enforcement or mandates can sometimes lead to redundancy within the curriculum. If students are already exposed to these subjects through existing courses, requiring additional instruction might result in repetition and could potentially detract from other important areas of learning. Educational resources such as textbooks, teaching materials, and instructional methods can be optimized to better explain the desired concept and skills related to history and government. This could involve updating materials to reflect present-day issues, integrating more engaging teaching methods like experimental learning or simulations, and providing professional development opportunities for teachers to learn to enhance their teaching strategies. Rather than isolating topics like history and government into separate courses, integrating them across various subjects can provide a more holistic understanding. For example, historical events can be discussed within the context of literature or science, and government structures and processes can be explored in relation to social studies or economics. This approach helps students understand how different subjects are connected and makes them understand it better. On July 23, 2021, the Governor of New Jersey signed into law on Chapter 185, which requires that in the beginning of the 2022-2023 school year, each Board of Education has to provide a course of study in civics, which shall be taken by all students in an appropriate middle school grade. The course will address the values and principles underlying the American system of constitutional democracy, the functions and limitations of a government, and the role of a citizen in a democratic society. The board will ensure that the course of study includes a minimum of 2 quarters of instruction or the equivalent. The material does not need to be scheduled as a standalone civics class, but the civics content must be addressed within the social studies scheduled classes. This being said, wouldn't making a civics and current events class mandatory your senior year be pointless and a waste of our time? Mandating a civics and current events class raises concerns about the potential spread of biased information influenced by both teachers and students who may bring their personal biases into the classrooms. Given the limited time available for instruction, it becomes challenging to ensure a balanced presentation of information, particularly on controversial topics or matters. Making all students engage with these topics carries the risk of accidentally promoting specific ideologies or perspectives. There is a legitimate question about the preparedness of teachers to navigate complex current events and provide unbiased information. Without proper training and oversight, there's a risk that teachers may accidentally teach misinformation or favor certain viewpoints. This could open the door for targeted teaching, potentially influencing students' beliefs and attitudes. While these topics are important, mandating such classes without strong safeguards risks introducing bias and misinformation into the educational system. Now imagine this, a school system that recognizes our individual talents and supports our unique paths. A place where we're not just told what to learn, but we're given the opportunity to explore what we love. That's the kind of environment that fosters true learning and growth. Mandatory classes have their place, but when it comes to subjects like civics and current events, shouldn't we have a say in how we engage with these topics? Whether it's through participating in debates or mock trials, following certain politicians on social media, joining clubs, or even watching a documentary, there are so many ways we can seek out and learn about our world and its workings. Let's stand up for a curriculum that's as diverse as we are, one that prepares us, not just for a test, but for life. It's our education, our future, and our choice. Thank you.
Ms. Tai, you may ask your question.
So I know you mentioned some ways that you would like to implement civics and current events into other classes. How do you think that high schools should handle the lack of civics knowledge among students if they're not paying attention in class?
Thank you for your question. The most a curriculum can teach the students should already be implemented in certain classes. And most importantly, there's a time and place for civics. We have our opportunities to learn it, but it's not your senior year. Thank you.
We're gonna invite.
No, 2 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna have 2 questions from the audience.
I have a question for the safari party.
Yeah.
Why would you need to take specific courses to your interest in high school rather than just college and take more courses around the world around you in high school?
Okay, thank you for your question. So the reason that seniors have an open schedule is to prepare them for college. We're about to be 18. I'm about to go miles away from home. The last thing I need to know is the president of Germany or Ukraine. The thing I'm gonna need is things for my career. Unfortunately, that's the answer to the question. Thanks. That was cool.
I have a question for the snow party. So when you mandate another course for civics, there are people here who will just move into the workforce. So wouldn't it be kind of redundant for them to learn about civics when they could focus this time on learning stuff that would be helpful for them in their workforce and to make money?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So I believe that civics should be required across the board because no matter where you go, whether it's to college, to the military, to the workforce, we're all U.S. Citizens or residents at the end of the day. You're all gonna have to be involved with this democracy, or at least you should be. So we should all know, basic stuff like how to vote, when local elections are, how to run for local elections. Even if that's not pertaining to what your career is going to be, you're still an American and you should still know that stuff.
All right, we're now gonna invite all speakers and campaign managers to the stage, and we're gonna open the floor for questions.
Go to the middle. Go to the middle.
Mikhail, Kiri.
No, it's gonna be for me.
This question is for the safari party. How do you feel about the existing four-year requirements, such as physical education and English, even if they don't correlate to what someone wants to do as their career?
So thank you for your question. Unfortunately, English is a little bit different. In English, you learn public speaking and you read a bunch of things. So compared to civics and current events, I can go on the news and find what I need to know. English, public speaking, I kind of need that in life, and many other people do need that as well. So thank you for your question.
This is for the snow party. What measures would be put in place to ensure that teachers are adequately trained to navigate complex current events and provide unbiased information, especially on topics that may be politically sensitive?
Yeah. Is it working? Yes. Okay, yeah. Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. First of all, if this were actually to be implemented, I don't think it would be right away. Obviously, we would need time to write curriculums and train teachers. As far as making sure that our teachers aren't overly biased, I do believe that there is a way to teach civics and government without making it super political on either side. And I believe that because I've actually experienced it myself. I took civics and government here at PHHS last year, taught by Mr. Betchler, and he was able to teach these topics in a way that nobody could know, his political viewpoints, because he just taught the information to the class and then allowed the class to make their own inferences and discussions. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Hello.
The chair would look favorably upon a question pertaining to Section 230.
I have a question for the snow party. So I was wondering if this class would be like an elective or will it be a heavy history course? Because how will students manage all their other classes along with this extra history class?
Okay, thank you for your question. So yes, this would be a required course, but it would be in your senior year. So basically right now, you know how in your sophomore year you have to take US 1, whether it's pre-AP or regular. In your junior year, you have to take US 2 or APUSH 2. This would basically make it so that in your senior year, you would have to take civics and current events. And it's actually not that difficult to fit into most people's schedule because as a senior, the only required courses you have to take are English and phys ed, I believe. So yeah, there's actually a lot of time in a lot of people's schedules. That's why a lot of people take senior freeze. I have one myself. Yeah, it's not that difficult to implement.
We have time for one more question.
This question's for the snow party. In my opinion, these social media websites have been moderated very good. How could it be further moderated?
Thank you for your question. So, speaking on your own experience is very valid, but your experience is not everybody's experience. And I know myself, I've seen graphic things on many social media sites and so have other people. So these things do need to be moderated more carefully to make sure that people, not just your age, but also younger, are getting an appropriate experience for the website. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Voting will commence Monday.